Yeah, so you see this layer, that's like setting up your space for what you don't want to do specifically. You have to set up your certain instruction, but at the same time you have to go off and like someone described the property in the system. That's what it is, physics. Yeah, with respect to time and like other systems that might be related to like different component of physics that's applying to that system over outside. So no, in that space itself, you're gonna go off and like break it down to instructions, because of the fact that the space of physics. If you learn classical physics, they're gonna tell you about the resting state and the potential energy, and then eventually they're gonna tell you like how the state will go off and move into different states. That's like you have the initial state, and then you have the state in the middle. Yeah, that's like that will go off and like start up like the velocity of that system itself, depending on the two-dimensional field. What's up? And then you have your end state, and then eventually you have your other states. Yeah, so these states themselves have to like go off and like be studied over time, and then be logged to go off and like learn some constants and some system that's related to the space and the property of that geometry from that system. That's why they involve vectors on especially to be able to describe magnitudes that's related to like property, like single units. And then someone introduced a different layout that involve motion into it specifically. So that's why they mention. That's why vectors will always be attached behind a system that's going to somewhat display a geometry, or like a triangle or a square specific in between. You're always going to have something that's related to like the ratio. That's related to like the relationship in between whatever it is that you have within that vector field. It could just be animals going into a direction north, into something specific or something with a certain distance, and then based off that property itself, you're able to somewhat break down the vector into different segments. Yeah, I said by the end of the day, I'm not giving a physics class into something specific or something. But once you introduce to it specifically, you always have the reference to go back to like old references that's introduced to you by the dead men over here who did the research for you initially, and able to go off and isolate some of these topics and some of these systems, break it down into different categories and systems, and down to like the middle layer, such as breaking down the identity. Because within the identity property, or like breaking down a system, there's always a ritual, like a system in there that's related to a step or a process that people always miss within the special. Sometimes they just tend to copy answers, and then somewhere, even though they got the steps in the process, within their identity there's like a simplification that's introduced into it, where you could do a magic within that space, within that domain itself, to then go off and like somewhat create a unique system to be able to like somewhat solve whatever you want to solve, like apply an identity down to certain magnitudes, and then you could break it down to like quantum physics and other things like that. Myself. So I said, you do your properties in your system, and then you somewhat introduce it to certain atoms as a system around the system, and then you lay out your groundwork logically as if it was a sheet on the system. Yeah, and then they'll allow you to go off like create quick techniques with new methodology and new tools. A good example would be like old techniques. I needed to go off and pick up a ruler to go off and measure certain things accurately, to be somewhat put down data around the space here, and possibly go off and create two layouts. So like these rectangles where they're like 6 by 3 or something like that. 6 by 3. Yeah, now I can just go off and use a new technology, a new system that I learned to go off and like create a glitch specifically, like your hacks or something like that. So I use the pressure of the wind from a certain distance to do so much, place down like all these rectangles from like randomly of like different ratios that will at least fit in without someone overlaying that system over here and turning the prime system infinite. And I could go off and like someone do the measurement and put it down in less than 1 second, and then I'm about to go off and apply it. Yeah, it's like using flash freezing as the technique itself. Yeah, so now I get introduced into glass, like techniques that's related to light and reflection around the space, to go off and quickly go off and create data on the simulations on the space of a different system. The same way that within that vending machine, they introduced what is it? I don't know, but that might be like that's a radio antenna on the space. I'll try to figure out what type of frequency it might be on. Yeah, there's ways to measure it on the space, to go off and try to calculate the frequency of that system itself with like special tools and instruments, or just like basic understanding, like engineering, to then go off like do certain measurements on the space and then determine the length and the width, or like the material on that system itself. Yeah, to actually try to predict what type of frequency it might have on the space. Alright. So somewhere that might be like on a 2.4 gigahertz system, like the one that you have in your walkie-talkie. Yeah, that's like your duplex system or your multiplex system, where we have to allow communication to that system itself. And then while you move to the radio frequency, you're able to use different filters to go off, like someone translate the that's coming through like a certain frequency in hertz per seconds, cycles per seconds. So you're able to somewhat break that down to data and information, or even use it as a transmitter to go off and send information around the space, so you can go off and communicate with that system and stuff and stuff. So somewhat there's a microcontroller with some memory on there. Yeah, that somewhat create a virtualization of a system that remove all components that were too big back in the days inside your big radio. So they were able to somewhat compress some information and be able to somewhat use a virtualization to somewhat do some tasks on the space, and to somewhat add a function. That's where to like communicating with your bank over here in your encrypted system to go off and send money, or like be able to buy one of these bottles over here. Once it's released, they give you like 15 days to go off and make a complaint or whatever, and then they put on the company. If you recorded that the vending machine didn't dispense your juice, your bowl of soda, and then someone went out to call this vending machine over here to go off and tell them what happened, and we send the information. Maybe they might send you a refund, a new bottle around the special. But if they didn't, then you could take it into a small claim, or you go off and call your bank, send the evidence, and they issue out your refund around the special. Very cool stuff into Morphing Special. So I said by the end of the day, I didn't ask to be able to someone go off and create virtualization to go off and replace all components or all parts. Especially expensive one on the special. That's the beauty about having a brain where you can go off like estimate on the space by using whatever you have to go and somewhat replace all components or systems to be somewhat deal with like interceptions on the system on the space and that. So I said within the next few months, I got my hands full with currently, because I have to go off and like find a house or apartment where I go off and finally be isolated. One, I have crazy rich, try to go off and see if they could burn down the wall and go off and like make people like myself feel useless, and try to go off and like think that I'm going to save the world into Morphing. I tell you, these people are crazy. So I said by the end of the day, I finally get a house or apartment for the time being, and then I somewhat budget to go off and get a laptop or a piece of equipment, and then eventually do all my process here. I should be able to go off and like write classical mechanic systems and use new techniques and systems, because by the time I do use my new technique or system, because I'm part of the school of computer programming on the space here. So by the time I do my object-oriented programming on the space here, I put like so many data on the space, I neatly organize it, because of the fact that I also do logarithmic functions and so that's stuff. Yeah, so I have to speak the logarithmic system over there. So people don't know how like some engineers have to go back to like classical system, because of the fact that they do an assembly system. So within a space here, they're gonna have a unique chart where they have to go off and learn different numbers based off like different systems that's unique into like encryption of the system, and then especially when it comes to like radio transmissions, definitely your natural logs and your log system over here is gonna be there, because of the fact that you be dealing with decibels on the special. So I said by the end of the day, I have my hands tied over here, so I have to go off and do a whole bunch of reference sheets. I have to go off and do a whole bunch of layouts by hand. I have to go off and do, it's almost as if I'll be like the physicist over here with like the multiple boards, where I have to go off and like somewhat break down the mechanics of certain system, and then be able to express it in a certain language, and then somewhat copy and paste off my phone over here to go off and quickly translate into not even I tell you somewhat find ways to like somewhat find alternatives on the space virtualization. So instead of using a scanner to go off like the old school way, where I had to go off and burn like 300 watts to go out to process a heater. A heater to go off and heat up on the space, to go off and like somewhat scan with a certain system. To go off and like somewhat translate the information into digital information on the space. Nowadays I could just use a camera off my phone over here to just go quickly capture the information, and depending if I did in mathematics or systems, I can quickly translate that to some type of computer programming language like Python, Ruby on Rails, C++, or like C#, or Java, or the systems are on the space here. Not Perl or Cobalt or so on. So I said by the end of the day, or even in assembly language, of course, the system, and that's my son. And then it's just even a different language on the space. And then someone go off and apply my virtualization on my system, and then go off and run some engine around the space, because I have other type of machine system to go off and run. Because I said the same way that I go off and replace the scanner with the camera, the camera lens. My machine shop over here on my system over there that's going to go off and create synthetic circuits on the space to go off and meet the demand for like certain supply, to go off and like meet the demand for like certain customers that I have overseas, inside the United States, for like the supply of certain things that I have to go off and like sell them or stuff like. No, because the reason why I use the tactics of like virtualization or like replacement of like certain systems is because of the fact that I compete with the oil industry. So the oil industry loves to sell oil to like big manufacturing system over here that go off and give you money for like bulks of stuff on the special. So when I go off and gather certain items in certain system, well, the minute you come inside the domain of Wall Street, the system over here, the big company, they're gonna drain you fast in terms of resources and stuff. So the minute you get that chin, if you can't go off and meet the demand over and over again, you're gonna meet certain hiccups around the space. So I know I have to continuously supply certain things around the space. That's why it's like we're improvising materials in the system, so I can't afford to go off and like buy big bulk or like certain system on the space. Every time you start up on the space, you're as a group that doesn't have no money, so you have to find your own unique technical system to go off like somewhat improvised, and then be able to create a unique system that's efficient and cheap to my office, specifically as a unique prototype of like a unique system of like of a technique that you're going to be using on especially like your manufacturing system or what's up. So again, a good example would be the light that you see on the ground wire. I'm not sure you can see it, but it kind of looks like it's flashing as if it's like a small light, a lighter that you try to ignite, but it's not coming on. So you just see the sparkles coming out on the special side. So I said by the end of the day, as that type of work that I'll be doing, is I have a new domain of like synthetic circuits on the special, and then I'll be posting the BIOS like the software, the techniques over the cyberspace over a website that I'll be hosting. But at the same time, because it's a cool thing on the special, most likely some kids and some youth will hit it first. I'll pretty much host my platform on the special. It's gonna be secured. And then somewhere, I don't know, just maintain my identity and make sure that other people cannot penetrate to my machine system. To go off and like somewhat steal things from me on the special. So I have to go. Hopefully by the time I'm done over here, I'll probably re-up my budget and then go off and buy different type of machines and then isolate the machines from different type of sector from my network itself to prevent the feds from accessing the main machine that I'll be working on. Working in. And so I said by the end of the day, it's pretty fun to have a technical skill with a domain of engineering. And I did my background. I did my proper schooling. Yes, I have a domain of physics within a digital age where I could just go off like type things, and not just go off and copy and paste and quickly go off and pull out information. So because I tell you, the domain of physics and mathematics is like an English language where you have to go off and memorize a full book. So you have to get flashcards on a special. Because the team of that physics itself is like a musical note on a special, where like it's somewhat coherent and like very, very sturdy. That's all. Into my French special. So not just like it's somewhat smooth as like one object on a special. That's like a caterpillar on a special, just like moving up and down. That's all. So I said by the end of the day, I got my hands full with too much work on some offense specifically. I tell you, I just ignore the old lady or whatever she wants. Because I said again, by the time I saw that mother over here, go off and call for like justice for like a son, for like the girl that killed her son, for like a $50 bag a week. I tell you that nigga is a simp into my offense specific side, because that nigga does not understand the space where I was raised at into my offense specific side. Down from the slum to the city, like other hot or like other females. When it comes to like female on female fights on the specific side. That's why they somewhat put the man in between, so the man could keep the female busy, and like somewhat the females will not go off and like somewhat continuously tackle other females on the special. But that's why they give the male the female on the special, so the males do not go off and somewhat go off and continuously tackle the female, so that there's like a diversity in between. Or between that time over there, they stay busy and somewhat get distracted from the things that lead to like extreme violence, and other things like that. That's why I'm pro mixture into my offense special. But I said again, I tell you that nigga is a simp into my offense specific. By the time dude does not realize how much a mother loves her son, because for odd reason, the dude never seen a mother go off and have a child and like be in the hospital bed over here, calling with that child onto my offense specific. Now imagine somebody else comes in and they kill your child. Now imagine if it's a younger girl than you are and stuff like that come to her, she kill your child and she disrespect you, let you know. So imagine if you're like a gangster. Imagine if you like against a female, especially when you're a bit older, and then a younger female comes through and she kill your child. Right? You want to see fire into my things. Same way the male over here will gonna see fire if you were to go off and touch his son that he loves so much. He stress me when I said. So the same way the father has a heart for a child, the mother has a heart for a child. I'm sorry. So in this space where you have extreme violence, a lot of gang warfare around the space. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's so many mothers that go out for big killers around the space to go out and kill other females. And in that space they ain't got no love and no mercy for the other females that go off and kill their children, either their daughter or their son, and they're always looking out to go off and obtain a payback on, especially back and forth into more often, especially once out, right? So that's why I know that nigga into more often that like simping for like the Me Too movement shit on the special. That's by the time that nigga will go off and make all females immune to everything on the special. Females on females is gonna kill other females because of the fact that females have children, and when you enter gang warfare, a female killing a female child on the special. Guess what happened? Mom is a gangster too. She gonna come too and try to go off like do her own thing on the special. Because for our reason, they know that the female gangsters are killers on the special. Yeah. So for our reasons, he didn't know that there are females that are always looking for like bounty hunters or like serial killers or like hitmen to then go off and like somewhat kill the other female, like the male that killed the children on the special. And sometimes he doesn't know that sometimes the female will also somewhat sell her soul on the special just to be able to obtain that peace, or like the person that somewhat removed the loved one inside of the heart of them. That's like a broken heart into more orphans that make them see something that makes them feel dead inside, like depressed. Beyond if you can imagine. So that's why I told you ignore that nigga on the special. That dude is a fucking simp. Navigate around the dude also. I said by the time I'm done with you, I have to go off and do work to go off and put a system. That's why it's a weapon detection so on the special. I said that nigga delayed my work for 5 years directly. And didn't put nothing back around the process than just like a Bible. I said like, let's go off and pray. And then tried to kill me in the process. So I said, I don't know, maybe I'll survive to go off and like build systems around the special. But I said by the end of the day, you get to see the, I tell you, ignore that nigga, I'm sorry. He's a fucking simp. He's a limp.